Hello, everybody. This is Mark Torgel of the original Toxic Avengers saying I survived the podcast with Neil on Without Your Head. And I still have most of my head.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm Nasty Neal, and we're going to be talking about Doomed, the untold story of Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. And I'm joined by director Marty Langford.
Hey there.
Say hi, Marty.
How are you?
It's going well already. And Johnny Storm himself, Jay Underwood.
Hey there, folks. Good to be here, Neil.
Excellent. Now, I saw the documentary, and I loved it. One of the first things is you really see how much the cast and the people who made the movie, the director and stuff, like really loved the film. Which also kind of leads into the heartbreak later on. But so first of all, though, Marty, when did the idea to make the documentary come about?
So I had an in very early on. The executive producer of Doomed, Mark Sykes, was an intern with Roger Corman, and I grew up with Mark in Springfield, Massachusetts. I worked at his dad's comic book store for a lot of years, and when Mark moved out there, one of his earlier projects was the Fantastic Four. So, in addition to being a huge comic book fan and movie fan, I was, connected to Mark. He didn't give me, the day-to-day as it was going on. This was before the internet. But as, the years went by, it became clear that nobody else was going to tell his story. So Mark and I decided maybe we should.
So you knew him when he was making the movie in '94?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
He went out there in like '91 and was Roger's receptionist at the time of the filming.
Mm-hmm. So, why was it 2000, I don't know when you started making this, 2015 or something, 2016, why was it so long between you? Why was it now you decided to have the movie come out?
This is the story.
Right, yeah. It's a heck of a question. And it was that, quite frankly, I was waiting for somebody else to do it, I was fascinated by the story. And I just was like everybody else. And it kind of, I became a filmmaker, active professional filmmaker, though not full-time, in the early 2000s. And it just kind of didn't dawn on me, to be honest with you. And I was planning on, after speaking to Mark, I didn't be able to use any of the footage, and I didn't want to just make a talking head documentary. And Mark convinced me that, let's just use the footage and see what they have.
Mm-hmm. And, Jay, when were you first approached to do the movie, and were you on board right away?
Yeah, just like Marty said, when they decided to make the documentary, then they started, calling all of us, the cast, and then other crew people, and everybody was on board. And the way it was kind of presented, which was kind of, I think, of interest to all of us, was here we are, some almost 25 years later, 23 years or whatever later, from the original production of the Fantastic Four. And what had happened over the years was, because the movie got shelved and never came out, it became this big talking point for a lot of people in the industry, certainly in the comic realm of things, but even in Hollywood. It was the one thing that I would go to auditions for, and the producers, directors wanted to talk about because people knew about it. And so over the years, there were a lot of different folks that did newspaper or magazine articles, kind of what happened to the movie. Why did it get canned or shelved? Why, what's the story behind it? And so you had all of these kind of half-done pieces on what happened, but nothing that was kind of definitive. And I think what Marty and Mark's desire was to do was to take all of, the different pieces and then re-interview everybody and add in any missing information and try to come up with the most complete picture, puzzle, if you will, of what happened. And to their credit, they just did an incredible job. They just did a great, there were things that I still learned in watching Doomed, about kind of what were some of the missing links or missing pieces.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the internet. Do you think, like, over the years, the internet actually kind of helped in in like the lore of the Fantastic Four movie? Since this is true. I bought a bootleg of it back in the '90s at a comic book convention in Boston. But now with the internet, like, people have seen it online, and did all of that, add to the mystery of the movie?
I am convinced that if this movie came out when it was supposed to in '94 or whatever, and did its play, I don't think we would still necessarily be talking about it the way we are today. Mm-hmm. And so I think the fact that there's this whole incredible story of why it never came out, that has given a life to the movie that nobody ever could have really imagined. Because again, here we are, almost 25 years later, still talking about it. So yeah, the internet, the bootlegs, the comic fans that wanted to know, conventions. We're still doing conventions. We did the Contamination in St. Louis, was like 3 or 4 years ago, and there's still offers to come and make appearances, and it just hasn't kind of really died down.
Mm-hmm. Not to say that I believe this is the first time I've ever had any guests on the show that were happy that their movie was bootlegged.
Yeah, we don't hope that happens with Doom. We want people to see Doom.
Right.
We want it to get out there.
Yeah, make the difference. That's true. I want to make sure people realize that. Yeah. Now, Marty, you said you knew the producer of the first movie, but when did you see when did you see Fantastic Four finished for the first time?
Yeah, I saw it the same time you did, Neil. I suspect it was 98 or 99. And, it's funny. I'm trying to do my math here, but, I'm an East Coast guy, too. And it could have very well been at one of the same comic book shows and movie shows that you went to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I graduated in 94, so right when the movie came out, I guess. So it was like probably in my early 20s. So that's probably they're probably exactly right around the same time.
Yeah, and I would go to each subsequent show, looking for a better quality version. Each show I'd make the guys put it on the old VHS tapes at the time, and then when DVDs came out, and I would just look for a better and better quality print of the movie each time. I probably owned, 6, 8, 10 copies of it over the years.
That's funny, Marty. That's cool.
Well,
now, did you always... what kind of tone did you want for the documentary? Was it always, just really to tell a story? Was there anybody who tried to, want you to make it more comedic and make fun of the movie, of the original movie, which obviously I know none of you guys would have wanted, but was there anybody who wanted you to go that direction?
No, there is a direction that I could have gone, and I was, it could have been this, mean, ugly type of approach where I was looking to, make fun of the movie, or I was looking to dig up dirt on people or embarrass them. But I went into this documentary wanting to celebrate it. I really, really like this movie, and I think it deserves attention. And more than that, I think the filmmakers, the cast and the crew deserve the attention because, they went decades, really, with people thinking that the reason this movie was unreleased was because it was unreleasable, that people just assumed it was bad, or else why else would they not have released it? Mm-hmm. And that's just such a shame. So no, I wanted, I wanted to celebrate this movie and honor, everybody that was involved in making it.
Yeah. And, I think sometimes people who don't watch documentaries, they might think they're almost like you're being taught something, and that might not be enjoyable. But it's not only enjoyable, but there's a lot of emotion in the movie. Because, like I said, you really get you get the feel that everyone loved this so much. And then, when everything happens and it doesn't get released, you really feel bad for everybody.
We felt bad for us.
Yeah.
That was part of the thing with the original film was that, it already had a built-in audience. You had the whole comic world. Word was getting out while we were filming it that this movie was being made. And so we all thought, gosh, you know what? We know we're not working with a lot budget-wise here. And we know that, even the effects and things are going to be not what they say could have been. But, man, we all have an opportunity here to not just make the best movie we can, but to hopefully, have it help all of our careers, and including Ole, the director. And so I remember Ole gathering everybody up before production and kind of doing that spiel, and saying, we know what we have working against us, but let's do everything we can in our power to make the best character-driven, story-driven movie that we can. And that's still one of the compliments that I hear from people is that, man, out of all the Fantastic Four things now that have come out of the franchise, ours tends to be the one that holds truest to the story and the characters. And so, I think that what Marty just said was an appeal to everybody also, was that they were looking to just kind of, give credit where credit was due type of thing to all the people that had put their heart and soul into the movie, and not just from the actors and Ole's perspective, but, you had a lot of guys that were on board with the effects and doing the music and doing the post-production and things that all really cared about what they were doing. Mm-hmm. We never got a lick of credit for it.
Yeah.
Until Doom.
Yeah. Some of that stuff with Ole talking about, like, working on another movie and, like, bringing the reels in for Fantastic Four and working on it kind of, secretly. All that stuff's, like, it's great. It's like, man, this, all you guys really, wanted this to work so bad.
I was so excited when he started talking about that in the interview, because it really did add this level of, like, intrigue when he's talking about him and Glenn, the editor, covertly, working on this film because they had lost the support, of the studio, of Corman, of Constantine. And, they were all happy that the movie had gotten made. They fulfilled their contractual obligation. And they weren't as concerned, as, to finish it. But Ole sure as heck was.
Yeah. And the movie itself, it does have a lot of charm to it, and people that you can tell you guys are enjoying it while you're watching the movie, and it is a fun movie, The Fantastic Four, and not just because I have you guys here, but when I mentioned I was watching it last week, everyone on my Facebook that replied, they all said it was their favorite of the Fantastic Four movies that have been released.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and people especially, they always credit the two things. They credit the Thing, the costume, which they did Optic Nerve did an incredible job with, and they credit Joseph as being kind of the ultimate Doom, the real version of Doom. And I think both of those are accurate to say.
Yeah, and the Doom mask, it really looks like Dr. Doom, as opposed to other incarnations of Doom.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
Exactly.
Ole wasn't interested in revising or doing a revisionist version or an updated version. He was honoring Kirby and Stan Lee's original, family. And that too, and Jay, I know you agree with this, that's what's missing from these newer movies is that family. They're the first family of Marvel Comics, and that gets lost in the effects and in the revisionism that's going on with the later films.
And to just bounce off what Marty just said, one of the things that helped to create that, I think, was the fact that here we all show up, the first day of shooting on, again, this very low budget by any standards for a sci-fi or comic, a movie that needs all the effects. And so, and Ole being the leader and kind of rallying us, I mean, we really did gel as actors and just as friends. I mean, when you show up to Roger Corman's old studio in Venice, and you're sharing your dressing room with the rats and the mice, I mean, it's like the only thing you can do is bond together, to try to just get through it, kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, it was, and Rebecca and I formed very much like brother-sister bonds, and she'd bring games and we'd play games, in between stuff. It just was classic bonding versus, the high level, big budget versions where everybody kind of runs off to their trailer between takes and nobody really talks to each other.
Yeah. So you mentioned, still doing conventions and stuff. Did you guys all stay in touch with each other after Fantastic Four?
Absolutely. We still do. We still trade emails. Marty, in fact, now is in on the group, because somebody will get usually it's Rebecca. She's really good about finding.
She does, Rebecca does.
In magazines. Yeah, so she'll shoot out an email to everybody, and everybody chimes in and responds. And, it's great fun. It's great fun. In fact, out of all the jobs that I've done in Hollywood, this is the one that I probably have maintained the longest relationships with people just outside of working on the job itself.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? People forget that Jay was probably like the highest profile actor at the time when they were making this movie. Jay was the one. I think you got paid the most, Jay. I think we determined that.
Well,
and you did, and Jay, you did. And Jay didn't even have to really. You auditioned once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no callbacks. Jay
Right.
had credits.
No, it was
the
it
boy.
was quick. That was kind of
You were the not quite human. You were the boy who could fly, and you were Bug and Uncle Buck, and those roles really upped you.
Yeah, no, it was neat. It was a neat experience in that regard because it was one audition and it went great. You're hired, and it was like, wow, really? I'm going to come back for the producers and come back for the networks and come back for the studio execs. And they said, no, we're starting shooting next week, so we need to get your hair dyed blonde and let's get this thing going.
Did you get to keep the spacesuit or the Fantastic Four suit?
I did not. Somebody asked me that recently too about the spandex, and I said no. I don't know who's got those. Marty might know. I
have no idea.
That have been spoken for. Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I tracked the guy down who's got the Thing costume. This guy, his name is Marvin Jenkins. He lives in Florida, and he bought it at a show years and years ago.
Oh,
paid $600 for it. Yeah. He got it on display in his apartment. He and Carl are Facebook friends now. Carl Trefalio.
Oh, there you go. And does Mark Sykes or Joseph have some of the Doom stuff? Is the stuff costume or whatnot?
Mark Sykes has the cloak. Joseph still has a mask. And I think Michael has the head, or maybe it's Alex. I don't remember. But everything else is spoken for.
Man, that bummed me out because normally I'm really good about that. Whenever I was on a set, I'd always try to find something that I could kind of take with me that was a prop or, wardrobe piece or something. And that one, for some reason, it just slipped by me. Yeah, I think I had my script that I had everybody sign, and that's what I got.
Yeah. Jay contributed a lot. I mean, actually, a number of the actors did. They saved so much. Jay saved his pay stubs. He saved his contracts.
Yeah.
He saved his call sheets and his marked up script. So we were able to scan all those things in and use them in the doc. And if it wasn't for Jay and Rebecca and Michael, especially, keeping all that stuff, we would have been looking for content in the movie, as B-roll to use throughout. And I think we got it all back to you, didn't we, Jay?
Yeah. We'll have to talk about that. I think so.
What is it about Fantastic Four that makes that experience that you've stayed in touch with everybody and you kept the pay stubs and the movie was special to you?
I think, well, for me, it kind of for all the reasons that I've kind of mentioned, I think Ole was instrumental in just kind of rallying everybody together. And just really being the leader, really being the director, and creating that kind of atmosphere. Because again, we all knew what we were up against. We knew we needed, a ton of money to make it all just, the effects the way they really should be and what have you. But so he was instrumental, and then thankfully we all just got along, which was the next great thing. And then again to have the way that we were filming it and the low budget nature and some of the things like I mentioned with Corman Studio, being like this dilapidated building in an industrial section in Venice that everybody said probably should have been condemned by the fire department. So when you kind of are in the bunker together, in the middle of the war kind of thing, then those bonds form. They form. And like I said, it's just been neat. It's been a total blessing to have stayed in touch with everybody. And then, of course, because of the nature of what happened and it didn't come out and everybody now wants to know, then that all just kind of kept us, linked up together as well. And it's been great. It's been great that way.
What's the feedback been like for people that have seen Doomed?
Oh, geez. I mean, Universal I don't want to say praise. That sounds too self-congratulatory.
Right.
But we premiered. I know. We premiered it last year at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2015. And from then on, we had, a couple dozen different screenings at film festivals and comic book conventions. And it's been terrific. I mean, it really, really has. The reason that, it was so long between, our first premiere and it coming out, on October 11th, was legal. We were hung up in legal for a lot of months just waiting for clearances on the different clips and the music and, all kinds of elements that were really tricky because it was such a unique, situation. And the lawyers were looking at it thinking, what are the ramifications for using footage from a film that was never released? It's not the usual, fair use. Yeah, it's not the usual. I mean, fair use covered a lot, but not everything. But I mean, we finally got our insurance, and we're 100% legal, and everybody's been really, really happy with it.
Mm-hmm. Is that nerve-wracking at all when you see your own film with an audience?
It's horrible. It's horrible. It gets better when you start to recognize when they start reacting the same way. And audiences will react sometimes differently than you either intended or expect them to. So that's always, really off-putting at first when they're laughing at something that you didn't mean to be funny, or they're, gasping at something that you didn't think was a big deal. But once you start seeing audiences do that over and over again, you start to recognize, oh, okay, it just plays that way, and it's a good thing. But the first half dozen screenings, they're horrible. I hate them.
One of the moments that, when you're filming it, as the person being interviewed, you don't necessarily think, that's going to get a laugh or this, that, or whatever. You're just, doing the interview. But there's some talk in it, Neal, about Avi Arad, who
I know exactly what you're going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say, Jack.
And at one point, he came out in an interview. And I think it was in Los Angeles Magazine, and it just said, not kind things about our production. And he said once they bought back the negative or whatever, that he burned it and this and that. And I remember being interviewed, and I said something like, and Avi Arad talking about burning the negative. What a ding dong. So I'm very proud of that moment, Neal, that I will never work for Marvel again, obviously. If they would ever offer me, well, they wouldn't offer me a job because I've called Avi Arad a ding dong.
Jay, that clip plays the exact same every single screening, and when I was editing it, I knew that was going to be a moment. So you might not have known it when you said it, but when I was editing it, I knew that was going to be a moment, and it really was.
And of course, I'm not so much in the industry anymore, so I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, well, now, you do this thing.
To make my living, I'd probably be begging you, Marty, to take it out. Marty, please,
I know.
Moment, please.
And you delivered it a little differently than you just said. You had like a moment, a pause, and then you turn to the camera a little bit, and you kind of put it under your breath, and it was awesome. That's one of my favorite bits in the whole movie.
I wasn't aware of some of the other franchises that were talked in the documentary that were being made around the same time. One of them was Wes Craven was going to do a Doctor Strange film.
Oh yeah. There was Cameron's Spider-Man was kind of, most people know about that. He had written that treatment script that was going to be made, and Wesley Snipes was going to be Black Panther. Doctor Strange, Wes Craven was going to do that. And that was Avi Arad's whole thing. Avi was ready and willing and not quite able to bring Marvel into feature film production. And that's where he was going. And he thought that this version of Fantastic Four was going to hurt him. He was trying to get the deal with Fox. He was trying to make a multi-million-dollar version. And this movie, just didn't jibe with his plans for Marvel.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's so kind of ridiculous about it all now. One might understand it a little more back then in terms of his thinking, but now we're 25 years later, and with everything that's gone on, it's like, so come on, guys, just release it or put it on one of the Fantastic Four or Marvel discs as a special, or I don't know, whatever, But it seems like maybe if anything, and he would just kind of dig his heels in, and who knows, out of spite or whatever, just keep a lid on it. But it's nothing that obviously would hurt any of the Fantastic Four franchise. There's no way that what we made with that movie would hurt anything or be a liability. So
no, and I agree with you. At the time, I do understand too, Jay. At the time, what their thinking may have been Constantine and Marvel and Fox, but you're right. Today, no way. No, today they have to release it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not going to take away from any of the other movies. It's just a fun.
No.
In addition to, there's also this.
Right. Yeah.
So the movie.
I think it would just be a fun bonus for all the fans.
Yeah, exactly. So Doomed comes out October 11th. Now that's on what? On video on demand?
Yes. So October 11th will be the video on demand. Will be everywhere: Comcast, Xfinity, Charter, DirecTV, Dish Network, all the satellite and cable channels, as well as Vudu and iTunes. And then the physical disc, the DVD and the Blu-ray, come out December 20th, and those have a bunch of extra features. We got extra features of Jay doing your Johnny Storm. I don't think I told you that, Jay. We've got that in the bonus features when you're showing us how to throw fire.
Oh, joy!
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Cool.
Jay, what?
Yeah, you signed the release, Jay.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah.
Jay, what did you think of the special effects for the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four?
Oh, boy. You know what? I think again, because we all knew, I don't think anyone had any grandiose hopes that the effects were going to come out and it was just going to blow everybody away, by some crazy thing. I agree with Marty, man. One of the best things was that they were able to pull off was the Thing costume, no doubt about it. That was truly amazing. But so I think when I saw the stuff that I saw, I was pleased. I thought, well, gosh, yeah, I know that they didn't have hardly anything to work with. I think when you see Johnny Storm completely fired up as the Torch and he's flying around, stopping the ray and stuff, yeah, it's animation that, you look at it and you go, yeah, it's, low budget animation. Okay. But again, it's what we had to work with. And so I think I was kind of pleasantly surprised and quite happy with the way everything came out.
Mm-hmm. Were you familiar with the Fantastic Four before you did the movie?
This is where it could come back to haunt me. No, I really wasn't. I didn't grow up a comic fan like Marty. Uh-huh. I knew of the Fantastic Four, but I really knew virtually not a lot. And so my father-in-law is a big comic guy, so he starts sending me comic books and whatnot of the Fantastic Four, and I'm reading them and enough to hopefully go in and at that time do the audition, and do it somewhat respectably. I remember I was Mad Magazine and Cracked, and that was my kind of comic, my comic experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, that works. Marty, though, what? Where does Fantastic Four, the comic book, rank for you in like your favorite comics?
Not very high. Surprisingly, I'm a DC guy, so I'm Justice League and Green Lantern.
Oh man, the truth is all coming out.
I know.
Neil, you're cracking him. You're cracking him.
I'm a general comic fan, and I've of course read the books over the years. I guess the John Byrne runs were probably my favorite. Those were around when I was growing up. But I wasn't a big Fantastic Four reader. Nobody's asked me that, Pat.
Well, fair enough. Have you gone back and read some of them now since you did Doom?
Oh, I have, absolutely, yeah. As soon as I was doing the doc, I went back and read all the Kirby and Stan Lee stuff, so, I did my homework there.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I really love the doc. Go on, Jay.
Well, I'd say that's been an interesting thing, too, just, in terms of, I think it does come out in the documentary. It's just Stan Lee's, kind of reaction to it all, which is classic because when we were making it, I think at the time the Batman stuff had come out and Marvel had that, didn't they do that early version of Captain America pretty bad. But Stan Lee, man, he was down there on our set. I met the guy. And I think Michael Bailey Smith tells the story of Stan bringing donuts one day and stuff, and he was a pretty amicable guy, when we were there doing it. But so it's funny to see the footage then that Marty's found, to put in the documentary. Basically saying, I want to have nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah, that's great. And I assumed he wouldn't be in the documentary, Stan Lee.
No. We tried. We got through to him, which is more, than we did with Constantine or Marvel. We at least, talked and corresponded with Stan Lee. But ultimately, he turned us down.
Yeah. But it's great.
But you do have a clip, don't you, from an interview?
We do. Yeah. When I was making the doc, we started the Facebook page and we put out a call just, to fans saying if anybody has, any memorabilia, any clips, anything to do with this project, and contact us. Yeah, and this guy, I remember his name. It was Mike Marsden was his name. I don't know why. I remember him and Marvin with the thing costume. But he contacted me, and he said he was at a show in 92, I think it was, maybe 90, and it was Stan Lee on stage, kind of really dissing the project. And,
right.
It was. I was very happy to get that footage and license it because it really did sell the Stan's absence.
Yeah, I just really did love the documentary. I thought it was really well done, and I hope everyone checks it out. Ever since I've been talking about it, I know friends of mine have been asking when it comes out, and they're looking forward to seeing it.
Oh man, midnight tonight. Well, tonight we're taping it on Monday, but Tuesday, October 11th.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on.
Hey, it was great. It was a lot of fun. Fun to reminisce, fun to talk about it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, thanks so much, Neil. I appreciate it. Great time.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Now,
we hope Doomed isn't doomed.
It is, yes. Or else maybe someday there will be a documentary about the documentary of Doom.
There we go.
Doomed again.
Now, we wanted to come out and do just as many people as possible to see it. Just have a good time with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks, guys. This was great.
Greetings from Tromaville. This is Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. Folks, when we're not making those great movies like Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, and Terra Firma, and Tromeo and Juliet, we like to kick back and listen to Without Your Head, because Without Your Head is the greatest entertainment on the face of the earth. Yes, listen to Without Your Head. The Troma team does, and the Troma team's been around for 35 years.